Brownfields are properties that either are perceived to be or are actually contaminated with some sort of a dangerous contaminant. So the properties that are contaminated with those sorts of materials, or that people have a fear that there's some potential that they're contaminated, are all considered brownfields.
Certainly anytime that you buy a piece of property, the unknown is always a huge factor. What's under the ground, what's in the buildings. And buyers want to make sure that they've eliminated as much risk as possible when they're buying a piece of property. So by using an assessment grant, this sort of tool helps identify the potential for any problem in a building or under the ground. We have you here tonight to talk about brownfields, and we just want to tell you that brownfields is not a bad word. What we're trying to do is identify ways to clean up these sites so that we can potentially redevelop these. And if your property owners are thinking of selling your property, it's a way for you to make revenue upon that property that you own right now.
We're at the Wheat Ridge Rec Center tonight for the second meeting that we've had to reach out to commercial and vacant property owners to talk about the potential to use our Brownfields Assessment Grant Program from the EPA to determine whether they have any environmental contamination on their property. We're specifically reaching out this evening to properties surrounding our future commuter rail station at Ward Road, an area that we refer to as our Northwest Subway Plan.
And so you say to myself, so why would I have my property even tested? It's because this future buyer in the future is going to ultimately ask for this test. And if you can give it to him and provide it to him free, that's money he's not going to take off what he's going to pay you for that property.
And ultimately, what it really does is it minimizes stakeholders' liabilities and maximizes the stakeholders' potential use and potential value of the property.
We're at the southwest corner of 38th and Wadsworth. Most people know this is the vacant Go Ford site. In 2014, the Urban Renewal Authority purchased this piece of property in order to clean up the site. And within probably 2 years from today, we'll have a brand new building on this site. So what we'll do here physically on this site is we'll dig out the site. You will see dump trucks come in here, lift up the asphalt, lift up and excavate probably about 10 feet of the soil here, which will then be taken off to a site that will clean the dirt. We'll then put clean dirt back in that hole, seal it back up. This site will then be clean. We'll still monitor the site, but it should be clean.
Well, we've been aware of the federal program, which has been around probably for at least 10 or 12 years, to get these assessment grant programs, and they allow you to do phase 1 and phase 2 assessments as well as cleanup planning. We've made application a couple times. It's a very competitive program. It's become even more competitive as cities have become aware of what a great resource it is to be able to do these assessments for private property owners. So it took us 2 rounds to be successful in getting the grant. It was well worth the time to go through that process.
So the city received this $400,000 grant from the Environmental Protection Agency to help identify these brownfield sites, these contaminated sites in the city of Wheat Ridge.
You're actually standing on a brownfield site. Don't worry, you won't be contaminated when you leave, but this site, the city and the city's Urban Renewal Authority, Renewal Wheat Ridge, has been working with a developer to clean up the site.
The economic transformation of Wheat Ridge has been really a partnership. Elected officials, of volunteers, of stakeholders. It's really been only because of this regional partnership that this sort of thing has happened.
Great.
I'm open about 24. I got my 10 foot of water in there. 24.
At 38th and Kipling, we conducted a phase 2 environmental site assessment. The procedure there was to drill 1 up-gradient well and several down-gradient wells to assess the potential contaminants that may have existed on site.
We're going to sand up to the top screen.
Yeah.
And then we're going to put a little 6-inch crumble patch in there.
What we're doing here is drilling and sampling 6 borings around the property. Try to identify the groundwater flow direction, make sure there's no contamination from the fuel facility that used to be here, and nothing in concern from the dry cleaner. So what we're using is a direct push geoprobe. It's remote controlled. Every 5 feet we can pull that soil sample out, log it, and observe it for any contamination.
High plasticity.
They advanced several borings, took soil samples, groundwater samples, and fortunately everything came up clean with the exception of some asbestos, and that will be addressed in the demolition phase of the project. I think it's critical in just a number of ways. I think just our environment as a whole, it's a good practice to do the right thing. It revitalizes a community. It increases a whole community's net worth. I think it's just a good practice to maintain our environment as best we can.
In the last 10 years, somebody figured out that we really needed economic development, that having a bedroom community was nice, but frankly, we needed a sign out there that said open for business. So we had some great staff people, some elected officials who started thinking about what did we need to do, which was clean up our zoning, tighten up our building codes, as well as take on some tools, the kind of tools that help for economic development.
The vacant properties or the underutilized or blighted properties, as we sometimes refer to them, they really become a scar. It's not just about that property, it's about the neighborhood. And as anyone makes an investment in property, I think they look around them and they say, am I the first one to do this? Or, are other people making investments? A lot of people want to see that there's things moving in a positive direction, and we think this Brownfield program is the first step in getting these neglected properties headed in the right direction.